George, obviously John is at the crucifixion. He's the
Yes.
only disciple there. What was that like for you, filming and just the experience?
Did you want me to take that, or are you okay holding?
You can take it either way.
Okay. It was a tough season. It was tough for many reasons, like not getting to. Sorry, that's my nose. That's not me crying. But it was tough because I didn't get to spend as much time with the other disciples like I usually do. I think you've probably heard a lot about Italy in the filming. It was physically very enduring, and I had my own little routine. I've talked about it a little bit. Some people would join me on this routine. Others are like, George, you're crazy. Why are you doing that? But basically in Italy, my family was staying with me, but our hotel was so far away from civilization that they were just basically stuck in there. And so while I'm out filming all day, they're just stuck in the hotel. There's no shops, no nothing. So at the end of the day, so I could put smiles on their faces, I would, when everyone else is like going home and washing the dust off themselves and getting into a nice bath or whatever, I would be like, all right, round two. And so I would take my family to downtown Matera, and we would get gelato and pizza and just enjoy the nightlife and the nighttime in Matera. So my days were very long, and then I'd be, back home by 11 o'clock, and I'd be up at 5 o'clock in the morning again for another day filming. So it just kind of felt relentless, but in a very grateful way. Like, I was so happy to see my family. And then at the same time, being on set, I'm like, you know what? I bet you my wife and child would probably prefer to be out here moving around. So I was grateful to be on set. I was grateful to be, exploring Matera with my family. And that's kind of what season 6 felt like. It was tough, but I'm grateful for it. And it was so rewarding. And I found out so many things about John's journey that I didn't know about before. For example, you said he's the only disciple at the cross. It's like, I feel like that John surrenders to moments and ends up there, as opposed to making the decision, I'm going to be the only one there. I think all the disciples do what they need to do. They find themselves needing to surrender and being there for one another. And when John is, as I say, firefighting in season 6, he's putting out fires everywhere, trying to take care of people, he blinks and he looks up and he ends up at the foot of the cross. And so that's kind of what the season feels like.
Going more into John's story, you shared that you actually had the opportunity to go to the island of Patmos and see the cave where John wrote the book of Revelation.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? How did it impact you, your faith?
It was incredible. I was raised Greek Orthodox, and there's just Greek Orthodox priests and monks and historians everywhere in Patmos. I actually got invited into the library where I'm looking at 1,500-year-old, so 1,500-year-old pieces of parchment, renditions of like Mark's gospel, which is just like, hold on, how old is this thing? So that's like an exclusive library that only a few people get to see. And I was just looking at these pieces of parchment that are very old. But it was just very surreal. I found myself looking at this whole area dedicated to John, and there was something that was very interesting, is that I had an incredible tour guide. He's Greek, but I discovered he was actually born in Australia, so he hadn't been in Australia for a while, but I could detect his accent. He was just so great. Jason, for those going to Patmos, look up Jason. He described to me how the monastery was built there, and this is the thing where you say, how does it impact me getting this role of John? He says that, first of all, Patmos is very hard to find. It was only described as this island where nothing grew, that had a cave on the top where, John the Apostle dictated the book of Revelations to, his scribe, which is, I think Prochoros is the right name. I could have got that wrong. But they actually built the monastery there after the fact, about 1,000 years after, because they found the island. And the monastery, built in John's honor, was built on top of the temple of Apollo. There was a Greek temple there. And that kind of was the perfect embodiment of not just me, but Greek Orthodoxy. It's this monastery built there in honor of John, using the bones of ancient Greece. It's this merger between Greece history and then this Apostle John. And for me, as someone who's ethnically Greek, getting this role of John, he writes his book in ancient Greek. I often read it in ancient Greek so that I can see exactly what he was talking about. There's just a lot of moments where character and person intertwine, and going to Patmos was unforgettable for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you so much, George, for taking the time to speak with me today. Yeah. Obviously, we are about to see season 6 later this year. What has it been like for you playing Simon Z over all of these seasons? I know you came in the second season technically, but what's it been like for you?
A journey, a big journey, a learning journey, an amazing human experience, and just a big lesson for me. This is a weirdly parallel character to my life, to my personal story, and it just kind of dances with my personal events, and it's the coincidence of it all is very. It's become now like it's the same for everyone. We all talk about it, that we landed on this show for very specific reasons, and to each of us personally. It's been like I like to think today, and I can't help but think of this these days at this convention, that the timing of this show is so interesting, that it's the build-up of all these seasons to this season. It's going to be the most important one so far, season 6. That the event of it and what our characters are facing is very, very, very relevant with what's going on in the world at the moment, and how when everything that you thought would be unshakable around you, even the most unshakable concept or light of it all is about to disappear or is being challenged. What do you rely on? And for you not to disappear into fear and and despair, and it's ultimately what's within us, and it's the faith, it's the love, it's the hope, the connection, rather than the disconnection or fear or hostility and differences. So I like to think of this show as the responsibility that it's representing for us as artists. It started as, I'm on this show, I'm playing a disciple, among disciples of Jesus, and it's pretty cool. We're in Dallas and Utah, and this is becoming a family, and we're friends, and now it feels like we're growing through it, and we're becoming like more and more aware and responsible of what it actually represents and means, and what it's doing to people today, which is make them feel good at a time that we really need to feel good, but like not just as a distraction, but with our hearts. So,
how have you personally been impacted by being in the show and portraying Simon Z?
I mean, it's all of that, mostly, and but also belonging to a family. Literally, like we've all grown through this, and we've all, got married and got kids, and we know each other's kids, and we get to see each other outside of the seasons, and it's just these relationships that I've won along the way, and but also knowing that it's going to end soon is extremely hard and sad. But we know it's not going to end with The Chosen. It's going to carry on. But this adventure, knowing that we all get to meet again at springtime for another season to come and other scenes to play together, is it's been very familiar and very comfortable and nice. But we're just about to do the last one, and it's it's tough. Yeah.
That's what everybody's been saying when I've asked too about season 7 and how does it feel, and everyone's, it's sad.
Has anybody said something specific about me?
No, just that it's sad. That's the same kind of like, the family will no longer be seeing each other every day after filming. No, don't be sad. What's it like for you being part of a show that has had such a global impact on people all over the world?
I went from being blown away and excited and just like so like pinching myself of like what is going on to almost now thinking yeah of course is this successful, like why wouldn't it be this successful? This is the very essence of who we are. It connects us with that. It focuses on that, and whatever we are telling throughout the seasons, and however big it becomes, Dallas and Tyler and Ryan never lose focus of the intimacy and the very human level of it all, which is it's just like the intimacy of it all remains the same, and the humility of it all remains the same. And so I think that the very powerful start of this whole show is having its ripples, and those ripples just logically keep spreading, and this is not a surprise anymore to me. It's like and it's going to keep growing, and it's kind of like the universe started as this and it keeps growing, and we're like, I'm still amazed at how big it's becoming. Well, it's doing its job, and it's nature. So I'll put it that way. I feel like this show is doing what it does. It's going to keep doing what it does, and it's never going to stop, I guess.
No, I love that. I love how you said that. I know you can't say much, but if you could give fans like one brief message about season 6 for them to prepare, what would you say?
I mean, everyone mentions tissues. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and be original. No, I'll just say one thing. Like season 6 for me, like the most interesting thing I was looking kind of forward to before we received the scripts was how are they going to justify the whys of for each apostle? Like, why are the apostles not getting in the way, not stopping whatever happened from happening? And obviously it's going to happen. And so how do they, what are the writing ideas that are that they're going to come up with for it all to make sense, especially for Z? Like, he's been like the build up of this character who's always reliable when it comes to protecting Jesus and being there for him and all that. And it's almost like, people make jokes. I've seen memes of people saying Z's like Chuck Norris. They're switching all the Norris jokes to Z. It's like, yeah, he is known for being tough, but how does that work? Where is Z going to be when Jesus is crucified? And once I found out, and when I read it, and I felt so good about it, and excited, and amazed by what they came up with, and I had so much fun playing it. So that's the one thing I'm looking forward to the fans seeing in season 6, specifically for Simon Z, and as well as for Simon Peter, and all the others. It's beautifully inspired, and they did a great job with it. So it's going to be an amazing season.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much, Alaa.
Thank you.